you realize that if you're not on videotape, or better yet, live on a satellite hookup, in front of the whole world watching, you don't exist. You're the tree falling in the forest that nobody gives a rat's ass about. It doesn't matter if you do anything. If nobody notices, your life will add up to a big zero. Nada. Cipher. If you look on a lot of people's profiles on YouTube, a lot of people says music, says what music they like, and it says TV, and it says what TV they like. I can't remember films and other stuff it says. I think the last one is books. And I am so saddened by the amount of people that say, "What's a book?" or leave it blank. And I guess I can't really talk because I haven't filled mine in yet, because I haven't filled any of my profile in, to be honest, because it seems like a lot of effort for me to think about, and I want to do it right. But if those people that have said, "What's a book?" actually never read, then that's a bad thing. So this video is, I just want to recommend some books for people that I think people should read. And I think people look at reading maybe as a chore and not easy. And maybe it is because it actually makes you use your brain. You don't get everything handed to you on a plate, you don't get the visuals, you don't get the voice, you don't get someone with the inflection putting emphasis on different words. You don't have the accent, I guess. You don't have the ambient surrounding sounds. You have to work at it and build a picture in your head. And if people really don't want to do that, then I think that's very sad that they have to have it all on a plate for them. So this is a video of some quotes from books that I like. I have a book, this book, and this one's full now, so now I've got another one, of written down quotes from books that I've read, because when I read a book, if there's any part of it, or even if it's just a magazine or a newspaper article, if I read it and there's something in it that I think that's perfect, that sums up this book, or it sums up something that I think and I've never been able to put into words before, I'll write it down in one of these books. So these are quotes from that book, and information about books that I think you should read. Or if you think I want to read a book, or want a book for your summer holiday or something, then check something out, because reading is fun. Okay, here you go. People in the outside world said something stupid with their every breath, and when they didn't talk, their radios filled the gap with their copied voices of people singing the same songs over and over. Churches in the outside world, my brother told me, were just the local stores that sold people lies, made up in the distant factories of giant religions. I check my schedule and it says I'm happy, I'm productive, I work hard. It's all right down here in black and white. I'm getting things done. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids and nobody's around. Nobody big, I mean, except me. And I'm standing at the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I'd just be the catcher in the rye and all. I know it's crazy, but that's the only thing I really like to be. I know it's crazy. I was in the alley, and I turned off my engine and sat there and looked back at her, making eye contact across the cars and asphalt. Jason once told me that eye contact is the most intimacy two people can have. Forget sex, because the optic nerve is technically an extension of the brain. When two people look into each other's eyes, it's brain to brain. I realized most people I knew were gonna die alone and lonely. Was this life in general, or was it just me? Did I unwittingly send out the sort of signals that attract desperate souls? I looked at the shadows of sleeping cattle and thought, lucky farm animals. Lucky space aliens, lucky anything but humans, never having to deal with knowing how foul or desperate their own species is. A girl calls and asks, "Does it hurt very much to die?" "Well, sweetheart," I tell her, "yes. It hurts a lot more to keep living." She never used to smoke, but more and more she tells me she can't stand the idea of living to a ripe old age. The joke is, we all have the same punchline. You realize that people take drugs because it's the only real adventure left to them in their time-constrained, law and order, property-lined world. Imagine how you'd feel if your whole life turned into a job you couldn't stand. I couldn't get myself to read the want ads. The thought of sitting in front of a man behind a desk and telling him that I wanted a job, that I was qualified for a job, was too much for me. Frankly, I was horrified by life, that what a man had to do simply in order to eat, sleep, and keep himself clothed. So I stayed in bed and drank. When you drank, the world was still out there, but for the moment it didn't have you by the throat. Why Religions Are Like Cereals, written for Sophia Alderson, served as the basis for my dissertation for my diploma in agnosticism. It argued that Christianity is broadly like cornflakes, traditional, out of touch, and falling in sales. Catholicism is cornflakes with added sugar. Protestantism comes in those individual packets, and evangelical Christianity is just more expensive. In a footnote, he suggested that the David Koresh Wacko set was like one of those individual cornflakes you find which has been overcooked. Judaism is like all bran, dull. Islam is like bran flakes, sharing a lot of heritage with Judaism and Christianity, but being a little harder to swallow. Hinduism is like muesli, which looks a bit different, but it too in time becomes boring. Buddhism is like porridge, again, somewhat different to the others, but there's not a whole lot in it. New Age religions are like fruit and fiber, because of their many ingredients. Raisins, palm reading. Hazelnuts, tarot cards. Dried coconut, horoscopes. Currants, pyramid power. Bananas, crystal power. And apples, numerology, etc., etc. Another thing he argued in Why Religions Are Like Cereals was that all religions are essentially the same. Edgar Malroy said in Why Religions Are Like Cereals that he preferred toast. You're gonna listen to me? To something I said? Jesus, man, haven't I made it abundantly clear during the tenure of our friendship that I don't know shit? Half the time I'm talking out of my ass. Or sticking my hand up it.